Welcome to Ask The Latina. Many cities around several states in our country have a street named Cesar E Chavez, in honor of a historical leader who peacefully fought for the human rights of immigrant farm workers. Cesar Chavez, born in 1927 near Yuma, Arizona, was raised in a 100-acre farm that his family had to leave during the Great Depression. They became migrant workers who traveled to find crop for work. Living in crowded homes, no bathrooms, electricity for these migrant families led Cesar to work with the Community Service Organization for Human Rights. Through strikes, boycott, and fasting, the United Farm Workers Labor Union was developed. Migrant workers were able to have better wages, voting rights, and apply to be U.S. citizens. Our guest today is Christine Chavez. She's the granddaughter of Cesar Chavez and was born in the city of Delano in the heart of California's Central Valley, where she was surrounded by the farm worker movement. Christine also has made a lifetime commitment to civil rights and labor movement and community organizing. So today, Christine works for United States Department of Agricultural Natural Resources Conservation Service. Thank you, Christine, for being with us in our show and being our guest. And I think that the apple does not go far from the tree because, as they say, you are doing so much like your grandfather did. And so really, it's a very pleasure to have you here and to learn more about what you're doing. And you're right now kind of working a little bit with civil rights and agriculture, correct? Tell us about what
That's
you do.
Right. So currently I work with the United States Department of Agriculture's Natural Resources Conservation Service. Mm-hmm. So we try and help reach out to underserved farmers to let them know about all the different resources that USDA has to offer to help them build their business. So we work a lot with Latino farmers, Hmong farmers, African American farmers, and just to try and bring them into the agency to let them know about our different programs and things like that.
Yeah, and I know that you also are doing some events. You still doing events for them?
Yes. Next month on November 15th will be our second annual Latino Farmers Conference, the first time that we've ever done one in the state of California. We bring together Latino farmers. Most of these farmers, what's amazing about them, most of them were farm workers, and they've now purchased many of the farms they used to work on and now running their own businesses. And so we bring them all together, do a series of different workshops, mostly based around conservation of their natural resources like their air, water, their soil. But we also teach them about marketing and how to sell their products to schools, because we really want to make sure that that they're involved in everything that USDA has to offer.
That's really great program. Yeah. Now, is that just in California, or are there other states doing the same thing?
From what I understand, the only other state that does do a conference like this is in the state of Washington, but there are Latino farmers, in Texas. There's a number here in Michigan. Yeah. So it's our hope that people will take this model and do something like that, say here in the state of Michigan, because USDA is in every single state in California, and there's over. I believe here in Michigan, there's over 40 different field offices here of definitely. USDA. So there is a need here.
We'll make sure we put it on the website if you give us the information.
That would
we'll
great.
Make sure we put the website URL in there so people know about it.
That would be great.
And the event date. So so people can know if they want to, they can fly out and learn a lot from it.
That would be. We would love to do that. Yeah. Hopefully they'll be able to replicate that in a place like Michigan. Or,
Yeah, that sounds great. Very inspiring. How many grandchildren did your grandfather have and your grandmother, Helen?
Helen. They have 31 grandchildren, and which I think what's really unique about our family is that because of the union, all the activities that we were always also involved in, we are very close because I think the union has really brought us together. Like we all go to marches together, we all go to picket lines, we all, sort of pitched in at different events around La Causa, and so I think that really helped bring us very close. I'm very close with all 31 of my cousins.
Wow, that's really cool. You must have quite the Christmas holiday.
We do, yes.
That's great. What a nice large family. And was there a quote that your grandfather said that kind of influenced you and kind of stuck with you that you remember?
I think right now, one that just sticks out of my head because it's an election season, he used to say that we don't need perfect political systems, but we need perfect participation, meaning we need people to go out and vote, just
That's
vote.
right.
And not just in the presidential election, but we need you to vote at your county level, at your city level, definitely at your state level. And so I always remember that we don't need perfect political systems, but we need perfect participation.
That's very good. That's a very good quote, and definitely something very important, especially with just so close to the elections
That's
that we're
right.
coming to. How old were you when your grandfather was working with the strike and fasting?
I guess from when I can remember, I was probably about, probably about 13 years old is really when I remember, because he's done it for, my entire life. So I guess when I was 13 years old is when I really was able to understand why we're standing in front of a supermarket, handing out papers about a boycott.
Got the whole family there with the flyers.
Exactly, or why we're marching.
You got 31 grandchildren, use them.
Exactly. Or why we're marching in front of a building, with the sign. I guess
great.
you really start to understand it when, I guess for me, it was about that age.
Wow, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So over the years, you have worked on not only the farm workers' rights, but also some other industries, from what I understand. Tell us about how you got involved doing that.
Back in, I guess 2005, when the issue of marriage equality was first brought up, a lot of Latinos weren't supportive of that issue, and so people remember though that my grandfather and Dolores Huerta were two of the back in the 70s were two of the first Latino leaders to speak out in support of the gay community, and people sort of forgot that about Dolores and my grandfather. But when this issue came up again, they wanted people to remind Latinos that when we talk about civil rights, we can't just talk about civil rights for our own people. We have to talk about civil rights for people who have shown solidarity with us, through our movement, and that means the gay community as well.
Right, yeah.
And so I got very heavily involved with the issue of marriage equality, and you're right, it was a very difficult thing to do, but I think it was a needed thing to do, and I think it was something that we needed to do to remind people that you have to get out in front and lead, even when it's a difficult
And it's got to be
decision.
difficult with the Latino community because we're so Catholic, and their mindset is very different about that particular topic. And so, how did you face those pushbacks, or are you still having them?
I think, from 2005 to now, that it's completely, that it is legal. And also, I think that just showing that there are gay Latinos, many of us, many LGBT Latinos. And so showing who those folks are, showing that they are members of our society, that they're doctors, that they're lawyers, they're people that are advocating for the rights of immigrants. I think showing that type, who the LGBT community, Latino community is, really helped to change hearts and minds of people. And it was difficult. We did get pushback on that. But once again, in the some of the gay rights groups who supported a boycott we had of Gallo wine or something like that, they too got pushback. Why are you supporting farm workers? It has nothing to do with gay rights. They got the same kind of pushback.
Interesting.
But we know that you can't build a long sustaining organization without having a coalition. It's not going to be able. You're not going to. We were never able. You're never going to be able to build a lasting movement if it was just about Latinos. We had to bring in a bunch of different other people to help us with La Causa. And in turn, we had to also support other people's rights as well.
Yeah, that's great. Your grandfather would have been 89 in 2016. And so do you think the fasting so many times affected his health?
I think, and I'm not a doctor, but the one that he did, his last fast that he did in 1988 when he was, well over 60 years old, I think that took a toll on him. He was older than the fast that he had done in the 60s. And I think that, my grandfather was not a rester. The doctor told him, okay, you just fasted for 36 days on water only. You need to take a break. You need to, and my grandfather maybe had 2 weeks off, if that. And I'm being very conservative there. And so I think that
he was really driven. Right?
Wanted to just keep going on. That's right.
Yeah, great man. And do you think that, I know that some states do celebrate Cesar Chavez Day, but not all. It's not become a national thing like Martin Luther King Day. So do you think that we should have that? They're both historical figures for us in civil rights movement.
Right. That is an issue that we, in any of the states that do celebrate, that's always come up from community members, and we like to, if the community feels that that's something that they would like to advocate for, of course we would support that, but it's not something that we, I guess sort of put resources into, because my grandfather was a really humble person.
Yeah.
And he probably wouldn't want all the attention on him.
Yeah.
But the other side is that we do understand that people want to celebrate my grandfather and they want to recognize his work. So when people are doing, those types of things, whether it's trying to get a street named after him or a school, it's our hope that, the organization that they build to start that, that process will continue on to do better, to do other things to help better their communities. So it's always our hope that they will continue to do that. And if they want to use my grandfather as a starting point, that's fine, but we hope that they'll continue to organize to better the communities that they live in.
It probably would, because I think that when Martin Luther King Day happens, it kind of educates those that weren't around that time.
Absolutely.
They get to see, what he did and doing things peacefully to make changes in a positive way. And that's exactly what your grandfather was.
Right.
So, and really, I know that some of the Latinos, especially new migrant workers, don't know much about your grandfather. So we have to re-educate them. They get educated in the schools, but I think when it becomes a national holiday, there's so much more in the TV, more activities, more learning about it, more doing
People ask, why do we have the day off?
Yeah.
And they can learn about Cesar Chavez. And, in California, it's actually a day on, so we encourage people to go out and do some sort of service to the community on that actual day. So
here they do marches.
Oh, love it. Always love a good march, so please keep doing that.
Yeah, they do really good. So your grandmother, Helen Chavez, like Dolores Huerta, she worked side by side with your grandfather on what you call the causa, which is the cause. La causa was really something that they both worked very hard. And what was your grandmother like, and what's the best memory about her? I know that she passed this year, and so did my mom. So I know that losing someone like that you've had so long, and you guys were probably very close, is really hard. But what's the memory, and what's that you remember best about her?
I think my grandmother, she was very traditional in the sense that she, she's a very typical grandma. Like, we went there, she cooked our favorite meals. She was very typical grandma, and eat. And, are you eating enough, or is this, that? Don't stay out too late. But then she was also she was not so typical. I remember some of the times that my cousin Julie and I, for instance, would do civil disobedience for another, a hotel workers union, or with the United Food and Commercial Workers, and we were going to get arrested. We would call my grandma and say, we're going to get arrested. And she'd go, wow, that's so great. Like, she loved that stuff.
Because she was always,
that's right. She was always very proud.
Been there, done that,
She was always very proud that we would, stick our necks out, especially for working men and women, like hotel workers or janitors or or any of the labor movement. So she was always very proud of us. But she's definitely going to be missed, and we have a lot of those good memories to remember her.
Well, that's good. And Dolores Huerta, she endorsed Ask The Latina when we first started the program, and she's great. She's been here a couple times to Michigan, and I know that she has a resource for Latinas and continues to understand that this is what we're doing with Ask The Latina as well. Have you had a chance to work together? Yes.
Dolores is just an amazing, amazing organizer. She does an organizing, I don't want to say school, but she does an organizing, workshop where she teaches you how to go and do community organizing. So I was fortunate enough to take that workshop with her, and it's just invaluable. And to this day, Dolores is still out there fighting for the rights of immigrants, fighting for the rights of women. She continues to just keep going, and
she's great.
Her son is running for Congress out in California.
Oh, really?
So it's very exciting.
Great. Dolores is about the same age as what my mom would have been, actually. So I really admired her when she was here, and she reminded me a lot of my mom. So she's really.
Did she go out dancing? Because she loves to dance.
No,
like, how do we go dancing? Oh, take her dancing, and she'll go and
sounds good.
Even though
Point it down on my list.
She'll just keep going. Yeah.
Great. Well, she's got so much energy, and I know we asked her about how she keeps healthy and everything. She said, "I'm a vegetarian. Don't eat meat." And I'm like, good thing to do, So civil rights is an issue all over the country. And now maybe you're not too familiar with what's happening in Venezuela, but Venezuela has got as president Maduro, who has restricted the food and medicine and student rights and has played human rights defenders in a difficult situation. So since the protests in 2014, the space for those working on human rights and democracy has become considerably tighter. Human rights defenders are unable to operate freely and without fear of reprisal. Defenders are frequently threatened with violence, harassment, imprisonment, and in some cases, torture. Do you see us able to control this from happening in this country? Because I know civil rights is something that's very important, but when you see it happen in other countries, and tell us what do you think about that? I mean, our fear right now is it could happen,
right.
With this election year, but
right.
it's scary
right.
Because the mentality of the leaders that have created these kind of environments like Venezuela has been kind of common in Latin America, unfortunately, with Trujillo and Dominican Republic, and of course Chile had its own too, with Pinochet. So we've all had that, unfortunately, and so it's kind of scary.
Yeah. Well, I think just speaking about here in the United States, I think as Latinos, it's really up to us to make sure that we put leaders in place that aren't going to do something like the leaders that you just talked about.
Right.
So once again, that voting for people who aren't talking about a Mexican judge not being able to do his job because he's Mexican American, or talking about immigrants being hardworking immigrants being rapists. I mean, I think we really need to make sure that we're electing leaders that are not going to lead us down the same path that some of these leaders have been.
Right. And I think Latinos need to get involved too as council members.
That's right. We need more
we
people
need more of them
to
getting
run.
involved.
Yeah, we need more
not
people.
To step back and say, be involved. And we have Latinas a couple Latinas here in Michigan, and we're growing on that, which is nice. I think it's nationwide growing, hopefully, because I know if a friend is in California, she's doing the same thing. And counties need that. So then we have at least a word out there.
And people just need to take the chance. I know a lot of people are afraid to run for elected office. I won, I lost, and it was losing's not good, but it's something that I wanted to try. I wasn't successful this time. I may try again later, but at least I took that chance, and it was such a great experience.
Yeah.
And I think that if we had more people taking that chance, you know what? If you lose, okay, you can run again the next time. You can dust yourself off and keep going. So I want to encourage more, especially Latinas, to run for office.
Yeah, especially when you want to see changes.
Exactly.
So tell us what a typical day or week would be for you with your job and work, and what do you enjoy the most about your job?
Well, I think right now we are at USDA. We're doing a big a push for limited English proficiency, because we have a lot of new clients coming in who don't speak English. They don't speak, they speak Hmong, they speak Korean, they speak Chinese, they speak Spanish, and so we're having to, work with, we have 55 offices in California. We're having to work with all those offices. They're all in rural communities.
Yeah.
So it's not like San Francisco or Los Angeles where you have a lot of different people that speak these different languages. So we're having to come up with different ideas on ways that we can best serve these communities. And so I've taken the lead on that through our agency, working with, other federal departments, figuring out how they've been able to work with some of these limited English customers. And we're putting in place policies and hopefully ways that we can help better serve the community, the people that want to come in and use our services at USDA.
That's good. Again, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because I know your grandfather and grandmother actually were out there teaching the migrant workers English, so they can become U.S. citizens.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Awesome.
So we do that, doing that, and then we're also doing what I'd mentioned before, the Latino Farmers Conference. That'll be our next project coming up.
That's great.
And that is it's like the only second year we've been doing it. Last year we had over 200 Latino farmers, business owners, come to the conference.
Good.
The difference that I saw between them, because we did the entire conference in Spanish, the difference I saw with them going to another conference where they're being translated, where they have translation devices on, they felt like this conference was theirs. They were like walking around.
It makes a difference
when
you have, like we do the Latina Empowerment Conference, and we do it bilingual.
Yes.
Because we want to make sure that they have that, and it really is something they embrace, because you're apt to learn better if it's in your preferred language, we'll say.
And I had mentioned to you, we work with a lot of very technical stuff, irrigation management and nitrogen budget management for your soil. And so it's very technical, so it's better for them to hear it in their own language so they can really know how to go back home and apply that to their different farms and ranches.
That's really good. That's great. So a young Latina wants to do what you do. And what path should she take in education to do what you're doing? How much community involvement should she have? What's your advice?
Well, I sort of went all over the place. I wanted to do, I thought about doing, TV broadcasting at one point. I was like, oh no. And then I wanted to do, political organizing. And then I got into more community organizing, more of a general. So I sort of went all over the place. And then I started working with the federal government, which is something I'd never done before. And so this is my 6th year in the federal government. And one thing I like about USDA is that they really give you a lot of promotional opportunities within. And so it's something that I know your conference, you have a lot of STEM, is focused on STEM. Yeah. We actually have a lot of Latino engineers. We have a lot of soil scientists. We have a lot of biologists. And so USDA is definitely something that I really would like people to look at, especially Latinos who have that agricultural background, that it's not just, I know to us, we immediately think agriculture, farm workers. I don't want to be a farm worker, but there is many different things. There's people that need to, there's scientists, there's biologists, there's wildlife specialists. Yeah. There's many different things within USDA.
There's so many different areas you can really get involved in.
That's
agriculture's good. Yes. I went to Michigan State. It used to be Michigan Agricultural College.
That's right. That's right.
So we're good. Go green. But anyway, so Christine, so you're nationally recognized as a Latina leader, and we are so grateful to have had this opportunity to talk with you and Ask the Latina. Thank you so much for your time and being here, and also taking time to come to our conference too at the Latina.
Well, I'm excited to go to the conference tomorrow. I know it's going to go very well, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, everyone's excited and anxious to see you and hear you. So thank you for watching, and join us again for another episode of Ask the Latina.